Rinnovo qui il benvenuto al Segretario Generale delle Nazioni Unite.
Good morning, everyone. I wish to welcome the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, who we've received today here at the Quirinal Palace in the spirit of great friendship. We have had the opportunity to speak about a number of issues in the course of our lunch together, and I wish to take this opportunity to express my gratitude and my personal appreciation and that of Italy for his steadfast effort in strengthening the United Nations organizations throughout all the years of his two mandates at the head of the United Nations headquarters in New York. In the past 10 years, under his leadership, it has been possible to achieve many historical results in very crucial areas, such as those related to development and the fight against climate change. And in particular, I'm referring to the adoption of Agenda 2030 and the agreement on climate change. In fact, after the meeting in Paris, it was possible to reach an agreement which is now coming into force. It's been ratified by the European Parliament and will now be gradually ratified in the different countries. As a European, I must say I'm very proud that the European Parliament has been able to ratify the agreement. And there are so many achievements that have been made by the Secretary General. The list is so very long, but I do wish to take this opportunity to mention a few. His very steadfast commitment in support of migrants has been very important indeed. And in fact, this was proven by the fact that you yourself chaired the Assembly General meeting on this matter and that you were able to meet with a number of different people in the course of that meeting in order to enhance and strengthen all the related principles, the relevant principles. And of course, your steadfast work in connection with principles such as gender equality, our effort against all forms of discrimination and violence. We know that the Secretary General must be leaving very shortly, but again, I do wish to express our gratitude and our deepest appreciation for his hard work. And before closing, I would just point out that Italy will be having a seat on the UN Security Council next year, and it will be focusing on a number of different challenges relevant to security in Africa and the Middle East. And of course, Italy will continue to support the commitment of the United Nations in a number of different crucial sectors, such as prevention and promotion of human rights, prevention of conflict, promotion of human rights, the empowerment of women, giving women a stronger role in our societies, and also supporting youth and moderate religious leaders in order to tackle the challenge of radicalism and violent extremism. And there are two other very important pillars underpinning the work of the United Nations: climate change and the massive arrivals of migrants and refugees. We are ready, we are prepared to work in a synergistic manner with all the different committees and bodies and the agencies of the United Nations system in order to find the right solutions, long-term solutions for these very difficult and crucial challenges. We will, of course, work side by side with your successor, Mr. Antonio Guterres. We are awaiting the formalization of his appointment today, and I will now express my best wishes for a very fruitful mandate. And I am certain that the extraordinary international experience that you have acquired and your hard work in support of the weaker segments of our countries, of our world, are the very best guarantee that you can possibly leave as your valuable legacy, Mr. Secretary General, to the United Nations after 10 years of hard work. Thank you again very much.
Grazie mille, signor Presidente. Buongiorno. È un vero piacere essere ancora una volta a Roma, specialmente con il Presidente Mattarella. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, Good afternoon. I have just had a very productive meeting with His Excellency President Mattarella. Earlier today, I also met with the President of Senate, Senor Pietro Grasso, and the President of the Chambers of Deputies, Laura Boldrini. We discussed some of the most pressing issues on the international agenda, including Syria, Libya, and the refugee and migrant crisis. I commend the generosity of the Italian people and government in hosting and rescuing so many human beings who are risking their lives on the high seas in search of a better life. Italy should not be left alone. We need global solidarity to face this unprecedented crisis. I also welcome the continuous support of Italy to our peace operations, both in terms of troops and also by hosting our logistics base in Brindisi. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday marked a historic day for the United Nations and the human family. The landmark Paris Agreement on climate change needed to cross two hurdles before it could enter into force. First, 55 countries needed to ratify the agreement. Second, countries representing at least 55% of the greenhouse gas emissions needed to join. I'm pleased to report that 73 countries representing more than 58% of emissions have now officially ratified the agreement. As a result, this agreement will enter into force on November 4th this year. This demonstrates unstoppable momentum for action to meet the threat of climate change, the defining challenge of our times. Climate change has been my top priority throughout my 10 years in office. I'm heartened to see that world leaders, as well as the civil society and the private sector, have embraced the need for action. And I'm glad that as my term comes to an end, the world is making this a new beginning. In that spirit, I congratulate Antonio Guterres, who is expected to be nominated officially in a few hours by the Security Council for the General Assembly's consideration to become the next Secretary General of the United Nations. I know Mr. Guterres very well and consider him a superb choice. We worked closely together during his long and outstanding service as UN High Commissioner for Refugees. He showed a deep compassion for the millions of people who have been forced from their homes. He worked around the clock to mount effective operations to come to their assistance. His past experience as Prime Minister of Portugal, his wide knowledge of world affairs, and his lively intellect will serve him well in leading the United Nations in a crucial period. I and my colleagues look forward to working closely with him and his team to ensure a smooth transition, and I wish him every success when he assumes his formidable new responsibilities. I'm sure he will carry the torch on the full range of key challenges, from strengthening peace operations to achieving sustainable development, upholding human rights, and easing humanitarian suffering. As the 9th man to serve as a Secretary General, Mr. Guterres has a special responsibility to include, support, and empower the world's women and girls. There is much work ahead, and I pledge to continue to work hard on all these fronts until the last minute of the last day of my mandate. Grazie. Thank you very much.